this evening, Sunday the 7th of September. I've literally just come back from a run, and typical whenever I do anything, stuff comes out. So I'm literally still soaking with sweat, disgusting. So I'm absolutely soaking. Just come back from a run, and literally I've come straight in here with you guys. Big up to Danny B. Big up, my friend. Hope you're doing extremely well this evening. So yeah, Danny, I've literally just come back from a run, and as is the case, really quiet day. I sort of think we were all expecting this today, but Trabzonspor have come in, and Onana has gone out on loan. Hit that like button exactly. Get into the chat, guys. Press the like button. Even just getting this for an amazing chat. Wasn't really a lot happened today. I've been working on some videos in the background, and just kind of waiting for stuff to do. And whilst some stuff was processing through the PC, decided the first time today go for a run, and all this stuff decides to come out. So according to Fabrizio Romano, a free loan as it was. Apparently Nana's going to get paid money as well. So let me know, get into the chat, let me know what you think about that. Do you think this is a good deal? I'll give you a slightly different opinion on it as well. As to, I've been thinking about this today, and kind of thinking about these some of the things I have seen out there, and I'm not going to sort of name names because I don't think that's fair. I mean, there's one thing about the United channels is that there's a lot of interesting content out there in regarding to stuff, and it is really all about opinion. And I guess I wanted us guys to have our opinion, because as I say, I'm not a dictator of the chat. You guys come in here, you read the chat. As you know, I read the chats out. So Onana has gone. I am late to this today. Slightly annoying, as I say. Trabzonspor. Now, I'd love to know what you think about that move. Do you think that's a good move? Now, I'm going to say something here now, and hope it's not disrespectful to Cameroon country and team. I don't really think it matters where Onana plays. So I think even if he played in the Saudi league, I think as long as he's playing, I don't know if Cameroon have an abundance of keepers. Whatever we think of Onana, and I'm going to give you a positive spin on this for a second, because I think we need to be. I don't think it's fair to always just say this goalkeeper is awful, and he's without saying some good stuff. So I think the one thing I will say about him is that the interviews I've heard him, particularly when he came into the club, and the things I've heard about him and listening to him speak, he seems like a really good guy. I think that is the first thing that I will say, is that he does seem like a really good guy. So I don't necessarily think it's a personable issue. Now, personality, and there's a difference between your personality and your drive, right? So you can be a really nice person, but you don't have that something, you don't have that spark. Now, Anand for me seems like a really good guy, but he doesn't have that mentality. So the mentality for me and the personality are not necessarily one in the same, right? So you can be a really good person, and a mentality, you're not a confident person. Big up, Rob, legend of the chat, of course. I think Onana is a nice personality, just a mentality completely wrong. And I do think that's impacted his ability as well. So you have to think about that as well. I think all those three go together. Now, to be a goalkeeper at this club, you need to have all. You need to be able to save and handle the pressure. You need to have the mentality to be able to handle the criticism, and the personality to be able to command your box, the personality where people respect you. And I think that Onana maybe has half of those three. I don't even think he has a whole single one. of those. So I think Onana for me, there is something there. You don't come through the mistake, you don't come through the Barcelona school if you're not very good, right? So I do think there is something there. Has he flattered to deceive? And what I mean is that he's gone to Ajax and he looked good. Niche fan says, JB, I'm worried about Lemens isn't ready. Niche fan, agree with you. I'm not worried about him. And what I have seen as well, and thank you, Niche, for bringing that into the chat. As always, my friend, legend of the chat as well, is that all that's happening now is that you're hearing that Lemens is third choice, right? So Belgian keepers, there's a rhetoric around Lemens, right? Is that he is basically the third choice keeper. Okay, so Courtois was out for a little while, and the men's are sort of starting to come through, and then they had a backup keeper who was in goal, and now Courtois is back. Lemens is, should really be number 2. So the media are basically spinning it now that Lemens is number 3, bloody, blah, right? But it's not as simple as that, okay? God, sorry guys, I'm absolutely sweating. I've just come back from a run, literally ran, come back straight in here. So I'm a disgusting mess, but I don't care. So there's a rhetoric. So Courtois is getting older. Courtois is, is still a world-class keeper, but goalkeepers don't come into the prime until they're well into their 28 to 34, 5, right? So I'm not worried. I'm not worried. We Niche, I get it, but what we can't do in this fan base, right, is we can't, and I do agree, right, where I agree with you on this, thank you, Rob, where I agree with you on this one is that should we have bought an experienced keeper? Yes, we should have, right? I'm not going to say no, but this is what we've done. And can it get any worse? I don't think it can. I don't think it can. I really don't think it can. You can argue that the goalkeepers that we have. I like Lemens, and I'm with Inish fan, but I think we just have to go with it. I think there's not a lot that we can do. I think we just have to go with it. I'm not concerned because for me, what will be, right? Vitek as well. We've got him to come back as well. So I think what could happen is that I think we could have the complete opposite to what we had the last 2-3 years. Is Vitek comes back, the men's comes in, and then we almost have a choice of 2 keepers. So we may actually end up with having a situation whereby we've got 2 really good goalkeepers, and actually we sell one. So worst case scenario is, I reckon, imagine Lemens comes into the team, he does well, Vitek comes back, Lemens is number 1, Vitek ousts him, then we've paid £17 million for a keeper that maybe we could sell for 50. So I'm not worried. I really am not. I do get that it's a gamble. I get it, but that's sort of where we are. And in my opinion, the goalkeeper situation can't get worse, right? So we were asking for Onana right now. Back to Onana. Danny B says, I'm confident Lemens will be good. Just got to be patient, give him 12 to 18 months. And then exactly, we've got Vitek to come back in as well. So back to Onana. So the positives from me, or the positive spin I'm going to say, is that at the end of the day, Onana, was it the right thing to do? Yes, I do think it was. How we did the Onana with DDG, the legend of a keeper, was disgusting. Emmanuel Ayala, sorry, my friend. I thank you for the comment, but I'm not smart enough to speak more than English. I think it was the right thing, but we did a goalkeeper dirty, and I think that we reaped what we sowed on that one. We as a community, as a fan base, what I'm going to say about this, and I'm not calling people out, but I think it's really fair to be. I'm not one for calling people out, right? And I'm not going to call people out, but I will call a spade, and I will, I will say, the end of the day, when people say things, they have to own them, right? And I own things. I own things, and when I make a mistake, I own up and I say, look, I've made a mistake, right? There were people in this fan base calling for Onana to come in to replace a goalkeeper that we had in this club, who was a world-class goalkeeper. For what anybody says, he was a shot stopper. He'd been here for many, many years. He got the club world-class stopper. Yes, he wasn't the best at passing out from the back, but the fundamental things that he did, I was watching a compilation of the shots that he saved, and some of the stuff that he did was amazing. Now, a lot of people from bigger channels and platforms than ours, not going to name names, were shouting and calling for his head, saying that we needed to get a ball-playing keeper, needed Onana, we needed this and that, blah, 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 blah. And people are allowed to change their mind, and that's not what I'm saying here. But what I'm saying is here now is that these same people are not coming out. When you've got a platform and a voice and you're giving that opinion, I think it's fair to say, come back and say, look, at that time I was wrong, and I'm saying now that the chickens have come home to roost. And karma is a bitch, right? Because what we did to a goalkeeper who was an amazing young keeper, Stephanie, welcome. What we did to an amazing keeper we had here for 10 years, and then we got Onana. Those people who are, and again, I'm not calling people out who don't have a platform, but those people I feel should come out and say, look, I made a mistake on that one. I was one of these people, for example, if Luke Shaw suddenly becomes world class again, or Mason Mount comes through and I've said the pair of them need to leave and they come back and they're amazing, I will happily come out and say, look, I was wrong in them ones. People are allowed to change their mind. But with Onana, it was just so venomous towards a goalkeeper that had been here for such a long time. Be careful what you wish for, because now that's karma, and now that's come back. And yet we do need to move on. But I do think there needs to be a little bit of acknowledgement to those of us, or the keeper that it impacted, and to those of us who are just like, that's the total wrong thing to do. But now we need to move on for that. So I think Onana, for the person, for the goalkeeper, it can't have been nice. It can't have been nice to know that the scrutiny is on you every single day. It can't have been nice to know that teammates around you don't trust you. Now, maybe he strikes me as somebody who's thick-skinned. I don't know if he's the type of guy who goes in one ear and out of the other ear. On a negative side, I do think Onana is slightly tone deaf, coming back into this club after you've cost us the Champions League and asked for a pay rise because your wages have dropped 25% because of you, and then you asking to top yourself up because you made those mistakes. That's quite tone deaf. Now that's come out. I'm not a big, massive fan of that. I'm not a big fan of trying to hound somebody out through things that have happened. I think if things happen in-house, they need to stay in-house, and we shouldn't find out, right? But this age of social media, everything comes out, right? So I'm not a big fan of that. So I think that in terms of the positive side, I think there are many positive sides in terms of the reason why we signed him. The justification, I'll give it out there. For those of you who wanted him, who wanted this progressive keeper, got to the Champions League final, I get it, fine, fantastic. Negativity side, so he came in, Ten Hag, I think, one of the worst things that we did, Stephanie says, we have replaced both keeper and CF, got behind the replacements. Come on, mate. I agree with Stephanie. We have to get behind the goalkeeper. But I think the only way we get behind the goalkeeper, Stephanie, is if the club do. I think that I am willing to get behind this goalkeeper. The only way you get players into form is by playing them. Shesko needs to play. Lemens needs to play. I think that the majority, I think particularly on here, I will say that, is that we will give him time. And I think that I will more happily give him time. But what I want to see is I want to see this club be brave. I want to see this club be progressive and go, look, these are our players. These are our guys. Shesko. And, Haaland, I know Haaland, his record for City was fantastic. And obviously the reason I'm mentioning Haaland is because obviously we're playing them in the very next game. Nobody knew that Haaland was gonna bang in 20 or 30 goals in his first season. There were plenty of people out there who obviously had egg on their face. I can think of one person, and again, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's now a pundit, and he reckoned that he'd flop. So the only way if these players are good enough is if you sort of play him now. Shesko, I get it in some respects. Maybe he wasn't fit enough, fine. But if he's physically fit and physically better, play him. The men's, if he's fit, play him. What's the worst that can be? Haaland will be hard to keep quiet next week. The thing is, we always seem to keep him quiet. Scott says, "What's up?" Well, what's good? Onana's leaving, so that's good. I'm a little bit of a sweaty mess because I've just come back from a run, so I'm a little bit of a sweaty mess. Clean sheet and derby winner, respectively, give them confidence they both need. It's definitely. I really hope that happens. I really do. I am with you on this one. I really am. I think I think that is the attitude to have. I think that what the positive so far that we can keep from this is that we've got 4 points. Like if we can get a win, I think that will boost this team so much. Now, I'm not going to get into the other kind of Lucha keeps Haaland quiet. Lucha's not back. Lucha, the only thing that Lucha will keep quiet is the injury bench. I'm afraid. Lucha's not back anytime soon. He won't be back until after the next international break. That's how it is. I think that, Stephanie, I slightly agree with you. I think that Mazraoui plays, and I think Mazraoui keeps him quiet. Thank God he's gone. United stand. Yeah. So let's go on some of the positives for Onana, because I think it's only fair that we be balanced on the subject. He did make some good saves. In terms of passing out, I mean, average goalkeeper in terms of playing with his feet. I thought he was terrible at kicking. Okay with the ball at his feet. A little bit erratic at times. I think, as we said, there was some good saves that he made. But negativity-wise, I mean, getting down, positioning, all the key attributes that you need as a goalkeeper. And never mind all this ball playing, keeper nonsense, this playing out from the back crap. The fundamentals really that you want from a keeper, or the fundamentals that I want from a keeper, are positioning, giving yourself a chance. You're giving yourself half a chance, to get across that goal. Being able to at least try and save like a penalty. Being able to, when you save, have the power and the strength in your wrist to palm the ball out or catch the ball. Come for a cross, be commanding, of your box. It's your box. You should be scaring the life out of your back four. You should be they should be scared of you. None of that at all. And just, I actually feel sorry for him. I'm not going to lie. Let me read this. Danny B says, Shesko likes to show up in big games. Exactly, I hope so. Rob says, do you think we might go back in for Martinez in Gian? He would be a great help. No, Rob, I don't. I think that's done, mate. I think that is done. I think Belieber's got a shout, really, but no. No, Rob, I don't think. No, I don't. So for me, Onana, I actually feel sorry for him. When I say that, not because he's, ultimately, and it's not for me to say this, right? At the end of the day, he's getting paid millions of pounds a year to be not very good in goal. I when I take that out of it and I look at the person, it's like there are some people in this squad that I go like a Sancho, that I'm just like, I'm glad you're gone, mate. I don't like him as a person. I don't know him, but I think that his morals are awful. The other lad that's gone to Chelsea. I don't even want to say his name. I think he's. I'm glad he's gone. There are those sorts of players, but then for those sorts of players, there's like a there's like a Hoyland. I sort of wish Hoyland well. I have no issues with him as well. And Onana for me falls into the category as well. Is that I don't dislike him. I don't think anybody should. I just think the ability isn't there. He's not good enough for this club. What is the subject of the discussion? Serena. It is Onana. Here we go. Onana is leaving the club. He's going to go to Trabzonspor on loan for the season. No obligation to buy. It's just a loan. We're not charging a loan fee, and we get his wages off the book for a year. So Onana for me, I have to look at the human part of it as well. So when I look at people who leave the club, there's always a sort of this is going to sound quite sad, right? But I guess this is me, right? So whenever I've started a job, right, and you go to a job, and I've had many, many jobs, right, and then you leave a job, right, you spent part of your life there. You spend a large part of your day with the people that are at your workplace. You see them every day. From the person. There's all sorts of personalities, right? Some you like, some that you sort of don't. And that's sort of how I feel about this club is because you've been watching this club for so long. Anyone that comes in to your club, you I don't know about like people, but for me, I get attached to them, right? Because I've supported this club for such a long time. Anyone that wears the badge and this club instantly has an imprint, right? And unless you do something to break that, there are many players at this club who have, ripped out people's hearts and are absolute, scumbags. But then you get the players that go, and the players that go that you don't want to go, like Beckham's and Keane's and Nicky Butts, when they leave, and Neville's, when Phil Neville left, he was a great player. Late here, please don't say you are attached to Onana. No, I'll give you. I'm just giving a kind of broad example, right? But then there's players that you go, I wish it'd have worked out. So Onana for me is I'm not attached to him at all. You can't be sorry for him to be with a victim of Onana. But I'm just sad it didn't work out. I can't, it's so evil. I have screamed at this player. I can't stand this player in terms of the way that he saves. I have slated him. I'll be the first to slate him. Doesn't mean I'm not glad that he's gone from a footballing perspective. Maybe it's the parent in me. Maybe it's the dad in me. Maybe it's the I want to see the best in people, right? But I think there comes a time where you can slate a person so much. Grimsby was awful. The Champions League was absolutely awful. Like the Grimsby game, I slated him completely, right? But there comes a time where you go how I get tired, and I get tired of slating something. I almost feel like it's the obligation of the club to take that person who's really bad at their job or really bad at that thing and stop them from doing it. So I got to a point where I was just I just felt sorry for the club putting him in that position. Now, nobody asked him to sign a contract. Well, as in, we didn't make him sign a contract. He came to this club of his own free will. To the point where when he went to the AFCON, he didn't want to lose his place, even though he was awful. He came back. I get all that, and I'm still glad he's gone. I'm still glad he's gone. I think we've done the correct thing. He's been awful. He's probably cost us probably a lot of money between being in the Champions League, Grimsby, you know, the absolute banter in regards to that. But there comes a time where I go, like, I'm glad a player's gone for them as a person. Like, just I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad I'm glad he's gone. And again, you know, it isn't. It is It is. He's cost us points, and he wanted a pay rise. I get that, but sometimes it's become so laughable that it verges on. It verges on like it verges on being so mismanaged by his own team, being so tone deaf that I'm trying to think of the only analogies that I can come up with are not PC, right? And I'm not going to say them because I'll get banned, but it's a bit like when you've got somebody who, I'm just trying to put it in a way that you've got somebody who clearly isn't very good at their job, and they continue to do it, then make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, and it just comes to a point where it becomes a joke, and they become a joke. And I'm glad he's gone. Number one, because he's awful, absolutely terrible. We pay him so much money, but he's gone. And Scott's right, yeah. The long story short is he was fucking terrible, yeah. But as a human being, for him as well, I'm glad he's gone, because the misery's over. The misery's over. The pain is over, and he's gone. And hopefully, Scott, he can have a good season. He can go off to Turkey and be made to look like the best goalkeeper in the entire world. How far down the league do you want to finish? I believe it was Fergie himself said, a good keeper can earn you 10 points a season. Onana cost you. And again, I'm not saying we should have kept him, but I have to look at the both sides, right? You're probably not going to get many channels who are going to not be in defense of Onana, but give a different version of it. I am not disputing that anyone's wrong for this. I want him gone. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't want him gone. Everyone's right in saying, get him out. He's gone. He's not very good. He's rubbish. He's cost us points. Everyone's right on that. But there is another side to that as well. You know, like Højlund, for example. Your boy. How sad are you? Højlund. I am sad on him. I am. And I've said that on here plenty of times. Plenty of times. Højlund, I'm gutted because I wanted him to work out. I'm pleased for him, but I also did say at the very beginning when I first started to do the pre-season is that a big club would have got him gone, and they have. So I'm happy for him. I think we've done the correct thing. I'm just personally sad. I like the lad. I like the player. I thought we did him wrong, but I'm glad that he's gone for him. AKS97 says, Door, Bienda, are you confident with this guy who probably started City? I'm not sure. Rob, I'm not confident about him at all. Bienda couldn't cross a road. I mean, there were crosses in the Fulham game. I mean, the guy couldn't cross a road without help. So he's going to be in goal. The only positive that I could say, Rob, for the City game, if we get tanked, is that if we get tanked so badly and Bienda is so bad, Lemens will get his turn in goal very, very quickly. So that's the only positive that I can see. But he's still better than Onana. D. Arjen says African keepers are always a liability. I'm trying to think African goalkeepers who are good. Who was the guy that Chelsea had? I think he was an African keeper, wasn't he? I can't remember, but yeah, he wasn't great, was he? Bienda is 6'5" and still gets bullied. I know, that is awful. Is a young keeper up for a fight? He has to be, as the other two you did weren't. We will find out, just for a laugh. We will find out. The proof will be in the pudding. I almost feel like what Lemens needs to do to gain respect is basically just, and I'm not condoning this, is basically just walk into the club and then walk up to the biggest one and punch him in the face and go, look, I'm here now. I'm kidding, of course I am, but he needs to do something to get that respect from literally like the very, very first day. You did him dirty, I agree. Tell me who is on your wish list and who is on your naughty list this window. Baleba is definitely on the wish list. Stieler, Wharton, I think those three, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think who else I would have liked to have gotten. Frimpong as well. I think he would have been fantastic. Naughty list. Sancho, Garnacho. I'm glad they fucked off. Pardon the French. Can't stand them too. Rashford, get gone. He's not really on the naughty list, but get him gone. So I think that we've got rid of. I think we've got rid of the right players, and I think we could have done with at least one or two more. Højlund will transform into a beast. I hope he gets 2 loans to transform. Me too. Football Tube, hey bud, hello. Bonu is a good goalkeeper. Let's see. I've heard he's very laid back. Exactly. Yeah. So not really too much more to say on it, really. Going to be a quick show tonight because I've not really done. Did you get rid as much? Wasn't most loans. So I am going to cut before I go. Actually, well, I will do a little bit in it. So I do watch a lot of stuff. Football Chief says I wouldn't worry too much about Lemens starting. It looks funny in Amrin Izzy if you play. God, it looks funny if Amrin plays him, of course, and concedes through a set piece. I don't think the decision for the manager is 50-50. Football Tube, I do hope you're right, mate. I do hope you're right. The men's is very good at crossing. The only thing I will say is that Beinder's got a little bit more experience. Maybe we were on the same page. These players: Sancho, Garnacho, Pogba, Lingard, Anthony. Why is Menu buying players these ball boys? It's just to appeal to the youth and be cool. What's the matter? Do you know what? The problem is, this is going to sound like a really, really weird thing to say, right? It's not the players, right? And what I mean is that when the players are here, it is the players, right? 100%. You know, with Amorim, it is not him, it is the players. I'm talking about when you buy players. So when you buy players, right, just hold up. When the players are here, it is the players. 100% it's all on the players. Like Amorim, right? Amorim can't win, can't do what he can do because his players are crap. These players are absolutely awful, and it's completely on the players. It's not on the formation. It's not on the coach. It's on the players. What I mean is, when you buy the players, it's not on the players. It's on the people who buy the players. Okay, so the reason why Sancho, well, Garnacho came through the youth, Pogba, Lingard came through the youth. The reason why these players have been so bad is because we bought badly. When the players then came here, it's on the players. Completely agreed. But it's also who buys the players. What we did was we went out and we just bought these. The management that we had, Woodward wasn't a football man. He was a banker. You can replace the B with another letter, and that's what he was. All those players, Murta, Arnold as well, no idea. And they just went out and bought players with price tags thinking that they were going to be the answer. At that point, it's not players. And then they brought him into the team, and then very, very quickly, it is the players. So it's a mixture for me. It's a mixture. It's a certain type, the Neymar type. I agree with you. No way the club buys any player to look cool. These fans, to their fans, that's a crazy. I agree and disagree. Okay, and the reason why I agree and disagree, just for the laugh, is replace cool with brand. You can argue, actually, for example, Pogba. Why did they buy Pogba back? They bought Pogba back for brand. Like, they thought they couldn't lose. They thought they were buying a world star, but don't forget they also bring players in for brand. So you can almost replace cool with brand. And I semi agree with the cool part, not because it's cool, but the brand. So I almost sort of agree with that. Football is about money. You do know that. I agree. Sancho was tearing it up in Germany. Yeah, he looked like a world beater, but he doesn't seem to have. Well, just for a laugh, he was tearing it up. But again, even then, there were still problems. He was still turning up late for training. So when we bought him, yes, they didn't want to sell him to us, but there were problems. He's always had problems. So when he was at City, the reason why they let him go to City was because he had problems there as well. Like, he didn't train well, he was always late, and these are alleged things. Dortmund was the same again, and then don't forget, then when he come here as well, but you call the club a toxic club. I get that, but the players make it that way as well, right? So when he came into the club, Ten Hag gave him a couple of months off. In my opinion, that's not the act of a toxic club. That's the act of a kind manager. And yet Sancho still came in. You know, he got support from the fans, he got support from the club, and still stuck two fingers up at us. So it is toxic to a degree, but it wasn't like Sancho just came into this club being this footloose, fancy-free, innocent guy. He was toxic himself. So when you add in toxicity into toxicity, what do you get? You make it worse. So it wasn't like Sancho was this angel of a guy who came in and was, he was influenced by these toxic people. He fed into it. He loved that. He fed into it. He was one of the toxic people. So he was toxic before he came. And all we did is we didn't look at the character. We didn't look at the mentality of these players. And we just piled crap on top of crap. Just before you go, how about making us a FC Pro club for the channel? We can all join and have fun and post videos on here. Before you go, how about us making a FIFA 26 Pro club for the channel? We can all join and have fun and post videos on here. I think that's a great idea, Scott. I'll give you a shout, mate. I think that is a really good idea. Yeah, I think that's a really, really good idea. I like that, and maybe what we can do is like a goal of the month, or like a thing of the week, or whatever else. Scott, I like that, mate. I like that. That's a very, very, very good idea. I'll give you a shout on that one, mate. CR7 is brand. NASA is to. Exactly. Christmas has come early. The flight. Lucha. Emmy, yes. Sancho, blend the club. Not the fact City, Dortmund, Chelsea, and United all hate his attitude. Exactly. Pogba was doing it at Juventus. Man, you never wanted to get rid of him. Was that why we let him go on a free then? Because he went on a free twice. Juventus, he was all right at Juventus. Even then, there's stories of him not being completely at it there as well. Pogba, there's stories of him that whereby Pogba needed basically more experienced people around him because his mind used to wander. He's basically like a big child, right? The problem that Pogba had was that he wasn't able to lead. Pogba wasn't a leader. Pogba was a sheep, okay? Pogba couldn't lead, and then when he was asked to lead, and the problem with Pogba is when he came into the midfield and was asked to be a leader and asked to teach the youth and asked to be a leader of that team, he couldn't because he's a big man child. I'm a BVB fan. He was in a good team, and Bundesliga is a shit league. Yeah, I mean the Bundesliga. I don't like saying about these leagues and saying that they're. I don't think the Bundesliga is a bad league. You may disagree because you know more about your league than me, right? But I don't think they're necessarily bad leagues. I just don't think the depth is there. So the top 2-3 clubs every year would compete in the Premier League. It's just the depth isn't there. Neymar did when Saudi got released after a year. Good evening, JB. Hope your weekend nice. Emmy, legend of the chat. Yes, it's gone far too quickly, and I hope your weekends were good. Neymar was just there for the marketing. Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Football to Ten Hag, the kind of manager that is football equivalent of the country. Well, I'm not saying I'm not necessarily saying that he's a kind. I'm just saying that act was a kind act, and I'm not saying that he is a kind. I don't know him, but what I'm saying is that was a kind thing to do, right? And Ten Hag gets a lot of stick. He should get a lot of stick because of the some of the decisions that he made, some of the players that he bought. But you do have to take the rough with the smooth. And I think what he did for Sancho, I think was a very kind act. Obviously, he put it back in his face. Saudis want their peace in the football world, so they get these names. It doesn't matter how they play. Emmy, naive, Neymar has to play it. If he was marking success, then Saudis. I do sort of agree with Emmy on this one. He was a success. You can argue that amongst yourselves. I'll tell you now, if Sancho had moved to Liverpool instead of United, he'd be playing for England or the very best, pushing Saka for it. Disagree completely. 100% disagree, because you're at City. I don't know if Pep was there at the time. It's really funny though, right? Because he was at City released because he just had an issue. Went to Dortmund. Obviously, he played there, but they sold him. For a pretty penny, but there were talk of things there. If he was so good, right, it wouldn't matter who he played for, right? Sancho's attitude, and then he goes to his boyhood. Then Sancho, this for me is the epitome of it. He goes to his boyhood club, the club that he loves, the club. And he still couldn't get into the England squad, and he still didn't play that well. So I disagree. Old man gaming up for that. A lot of people who knew said things because of Same story with VR7. You were talking about I had be nice, otherwise the mods will be on you. Please don't call me an idiot when clearly I'm not yet. I do agree. All I'm just going to say, just for the laugh, and anyone else on here, it's okay to have your opinions, right? No one is disputing that. It's okay to get your opinions in. It's okay to disagree with people, but if you don't support the club, that's fine. But there's no point in getting irate with somebody who has a different opinion to you, and you clearly don't like the club. I get that, but just people get frustrated, and there are mods in here as well, so I'll leave that up to the mods to decide. For he was all right at Juventus the first time round. Is just straight gas. The midfielder with Pirlo, Vidal was nasty. Check their route to the final. Do people come with facts before slander? You can leave you. Yeah. This is your final warning. Don't be rude. Football is different opinions, and you're wrong. Yeah. He had zero issues. That's it. He wanted to play. That's not true. Just for a laugh. I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. There are plenty of stories. The Sancho had many. He's always had issues wherever he's gone. City. There are many stories. Look it up. I've read many stories. He wanted to play, but that's not the reason why he left. He wanted to play, but there were many issues. Ninja Turtles, hi men, hello. I think you are slow. I never said he was a marketing success. Stop me. I can't take the amount of BS. I said, just for laugh. Spennon went to Dortmund too. He went for game time like a few young Englishmen. What I've done, it's the other two, not me. The mods can deal. The mods can deal with anything on here. Just for the laugh, yeah. It's not you, bro. Don't worry. It's the one with Musketeers. You want to be funny. Sancho was the problem. Yeah. Sancho has clearly annoyed people, hasn't he? Jesus Christ! I mean, look. People are going to have opinions, right? And as I will always say in this chat, right? Come here. This you may disagree or disagree on this one. Is that, and I do leave it up to the mods. We have some really good mods on here. Is that it's okay to have different opinions, and I know how frustrating it is when you don't have the same opinion, and particularly when you come from like a rival club as well. I get that, and some people may watch football more than others. Some people, may not, but we watch football in a completely different way, and I think that it is frustrating. But in my own opinion, everything's not black and white. The only really thing that you can't argue with, really, is the football score, right? You can argue about who played well, you can argue about who the best player is, you can argue about all sorts of things, right? But you can't argue with the score. So I almost think to myself, like, sometimes you just got to agree to disagree, move on. Yes, as I'm called Emmy, not the guy with the pointy sword. John Wick does not mess around in the chat. Exactly. John Wick does not mess around. He is the John Wick of this chat. Yeah, and yeah. I mean, to be fair, guys, I ban people. Sometimes I never even. I'm never going to live that one down. Yeah. So I'm going to go, Bob. Scott, I like the idea about the FC 16. I'll give you a message on that one. You can tell me more about your ideas. And the one thing I'll say before I go into it is that I want to make this channel about you guys as well. As much as it's you should get a PS5 and help me make a pro clubs. I should do. I've got a is FC26 cross platform, or is it, or do you have to have a PS5? I mean, I'm a showing my age. Can you do like Xbox to PS5? I'm getting a new Xbox and GTA 6. Yep. Cool. Okay. Awesome. I will hit me up, Scott, on email, and we can sort that out. But again, if anyone's got any ideas for the channel, I want to make it your channel as well as much as I can. Like I said, if we had a ball winning holder GM and a good presser of a ball, we definitely would have gotten top 5. Do you reckon? I think we would have. I think we would have pushed for top 5. Agree with you. I think that's a good thing to say. I really do. I think we'd have got close. Whether we would have got top 5, but I think with a as long as we stayed fit, with a defensive DM, more defensive defender, I think we would have gotten top 5, maybe top 6. But let's see. Look, we've still got 4 points. Let's see what we can do. Thomas Mousley, what's your thoughts on England result last night? I'm just going to say this straight up. Boring. I get people can say what they like about England, right? It's Andorra. I mean, England should be putting them to the sword. England look comfortable all night. I just it's something about it. It lacks, that team lacks a spark, in my opinion. It's typical Tuchel German. They've got the players, they've got the depth, but there's just something missing. They don't have the spark. I just thought it was really boring. Can England go to the World Cup and win it? They should do. I just find it boring. I know there are a lot of players out. I get that as well, but there are lots of bright sparks and points. But I just found it boring. Me get a PS5 lad come play 26 with JB. I think Onana was United's worst keeper in. I will say Tayibi. Tayibi is the worst keeper. Martinez should be trialled as a DM. I don't disagree. I know he played at Ajax. I quite like Lissandro Martinez, but he's a bit physical as well, though. Exactly. Gary Bailey was pouring me, but I'm a little older. I don't bother with England. All international breaks are boring. I know, right? I've heard, just for a laugh, I've only watched them during the World Cup. I was obviously born in '77, hence the name. Code Logic. Binder lets in half of the shots he faces. Onana concedes 1 in 3. Lamens hasn't played in front of 20,000 fans or hasn't experienced toxicity. Keeper is a yeah. Your name suits you extremely well. I think you're right. I think let's see how he does in front of 60,000 fans. That's a very, very good point. Very, very good point, Code Logic. As always, very, very good point. So let's see how he does. Let's see how he does. So I'm going to go, guys. Just a quick show tonight. I say a quick show. We've been going for nearly an hour, guys. Amazing show. Onana has holes in his gloves. I think he's got holes all in his entire body. So let's see. I'm going to go and have a shower. I've literally just I went for a run, a couple of miles, came back, and literally this all happened. So I quickly put something together. Scott, I will. We can talk about FIFA. What your ideas are on that one. I'm sure we can make that a good series. Let me know if any other. I can see your trainers on the shelf behind you, mate. You have no idea, mate. I have so many pairs of trainers. It is ridiculous. I have like ridiculous pairs. I have boxes all over this room of trainers. May I ask why you have 3 pairs of trainers up though? Basically because I'm trying to sort out this room, and I happen to just have them, so I put them up there, I put them up there, and I forgot to take them down. Are the Brooks still a thing in the running world? Yeah, of course they are. They are. Brooks are. Yeah, they're not they're for his third leg. Scott, exactly, mate. Exactly that. They are. They're all for third legs because that's what is 3 of them. That's why those are not in pairs, because they're for the third leg. So what can I say? Brooks are still a thing. Yeah, they are. I think Brooks are still doing quite well. Brook Ghost are probably their biggest one that they do, and the GTS as well. So yeah, Brooks are a good brand actually. No human can perform with that level of Parlant. Again, Code Logic, I think you are spot on. Let's see what he can do. Let's give him a chance, and then we can assess it after a couple of games. We need a robot. What is it with the most fans parrot the media and influencers rather than have their own thoughts? Because I think it's very difficult. Because I think what it is that people are scared to have their own opinions, right? I think confidence with opinion comes with age, right? Unless you're very unless you're very worldly at a young age, people. The problem is that people with platforms, unless they are credible people. I mean, I don't know how I come across, right? So there are people out there who come across, and people hang on every single word that they say because they're a bit older. And sadly, I'm going to sound like such an old man now, is that the youth of today have lost the art of communication. They've lost the art of they're not able to debate and have a conversation without thinking that. So you could have a debate and not agree, and you still be friends, right? But nowadays is that if you have a debate and you even raise your voice, people are in bed for like a week. So it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. So they almost, as the title in the sort of name says, that they influence people, and that's their job. My job is not here to influence, which technically that's what I would be, I guess, but that's not my role here. My role is just to come and have an amazing chat, talk about football, talk about old times, talk about FIFA, talk about third legs, have a laugh. And if we learn something, I can learn things from people who are like older than me, which I have already. And hopefully you guys can learn, or your younger people can come on here and learn about history as well, which, God, I'm feeling old. They used to be top tier in the 80s and 90s. The new breed of kids, I guess. It makes me divide the fan base. I agree with you. Social media will be the death of humanity. That's why I don't bother with social media. Like, for instance, Amarin's attack isn't the problem. Most teams play 2-4-3-1. Possession, it's when out possession is the problem. It's 5-2-3 when it doesn't work. I don't do Facebook. I don't do Facebook either. You need an alternative to 4-4-2, 4-5-1, 4-2-3-1, and most of his defensive problems are where I agree. Have no social media except for this or any other opinions. Do not like anything full of snowflakes. And no kick. Look, Emmy, right? If I'm going to be challenged by a polar bear with no paws, and he's going to try and eat me, mate, I've got to. I don't condone it. I don't condone violence to animals at all. But if you're being attacked by a polar bear with no paws, you've got no choice but to kick it. It's so binary. Like, I praise one player, somehow it means I'm exactly. I don't understand these new breeder fans that support player FC. We're a dying breeders. We are. We are the last bastion of opinions. The formation isn't the issue. Once the players adapt, we start to win. United staying up. Jesus Christ. Neslo 152. Yes. I am. Am I part of the old breed now? 33. Yeah, Scott. Yeah. That's fine, mate. You can be part of it, mate. Anything over 30, mate. I'm actually confident that we'll beat City. Me too. But guys, I am going to go. I stink. I absolutely stink. If you could smell this room in me right now, you'd probably want to kick me in the head. Never mind any sort of like animal. It is disgusting. I will be back tomorrow. I am creating something. I don't know whether to do it live or just create something. Let's see. But guys, thank you for watching this evening. I don't think anything else will break other than my legs because I'm tired. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. As always, you guys are legends of the chat. Absolute quality. I can't thank you guys enough. And you know what I'm about to say, guys, because it's so true. In life, you can't buy health. As we've spoken about this on here so many times. So many times, and we've had some great in-depth conversations. You've given me in-depth into your personal lives. Some of it is really saddening, and I thank you for sharing it. And you can't buy time, and you can't buy health, and and the fact that you guys spend it here with me, most nights, most days, you spend it with each other. It still blows my mind that you guys come back. Just legends complete. So enjoy the rest of your evening, rest of your day, afternoon, morning, whatever you are up to. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Monday, work day. I'm off for a week, so that's always good. Yeah, so I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good rest of your evening. Scott will catch up on the FIFA stuff as well, so I'll send me an email on it or whatever else, and we can catch up on that. So guys, thank you again, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.